supposed to spray your neighbor?
Crystal's not. All right. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say which glues are my favorite. So I think that these two are the best. They serve different purposes. We have our Keystone General and the 3M45, and I'll tell you why. These glues are the most consistent when you're spraying, and so they do a better job of what they're supposed to do. But these two are similar, and they work pretty well, and these two are similar, the U-line and the General 45. So we have three main kinds of fabric that we usually work with. There are more, obviously, but like three main ones for the different kinds of covers that we have. So let's have our new people share this. And so we have different kinds of covers. We have up there, kind of in the top middle, we have the storage cover. We use Aqualon. It's the shiny one that is also on the folding canopy. It's got a coating on the front. It's white on the back, and so we can pass that around. And this is also Aqualon. It's just a different color, so pass maybe that way. And then we have our snap covers and our ratchet covers. Or no, sorry. Our cinch covers and our ratchet covers have Weathermax. It's a very kind of thin fabric, and it has little lines in it. Look at that too. And that way. And then we also have our snap covers and our folding canopy use Sunbrella, which is this kind of canvasy feeling fabric. And so each of the fabrics for each of the covers work with the glue a little bit differently, right? So, and reinforcement happens. This is one of the things that we glue down sometimes on our storage and sometimes on our cinch and our ratchet. You get this kind that is happening. Okay, so
it's called Matrix.
This is Matrix.
And it's the new what's the new material that they're replacing it with?
Forget the new, it's the new one coming out because they don't
make that one anymore, but it's very, very similar.
Okay, yeah, it's just flexible. It's great. Okay, so the glues. So we have different glues. So we have our Keystone and our Chemique Bond Seal. These we generally are using for the folding canopies to put down our surf pockets. And so all of the new people should be sort of familiar with these. These are webby when they come out. They are kind of stringy. And so this one is more consistent all the way through the bottle. This one is consistent really well at the beginning, and then at the end it's like a little tiny stream. And yeah, it's kind of never consistent.
A good tip is to pick the glue
You
off
have
of
to,
the
yeah,
tip.
you have to clean the
yeah.
hate that glue. This glue is awesome.
yeah, but in this one you have to clean the
And that's part of the problem with both of these is you have to clean it. This one in particular. This one, if you don't clean it, it will splatter. And this one is the worst for bleed through. So anyway, so we've got, and then this one gives you a really consistent spray, but you do have to kind of have a proper technique. So we're gonna practice this one for sure. Okay, so I want to show you guys really quick. I've got, no, not that one. Under here, I've got my samples. So we have a sample. This is going to be on our sample board eventually. And so we have kind of a light coat and a thicker coat, light, thicker, for both of these. And so the problem that we have with glue a lot of the time is when we have our light colored fabric in either Weathermax or Sunbrella. Aqualon, it doesn't really matter. You can't really see it. But in Weathermax or Sunbrella, you get bleed through where you can see the glue come through. And so you have to be really careful. And it's the biggest problem with this one. Second problem with this one. And then these two are pretty good, but you're gonna not really use this one on the Weathermax. And you will get bleed through if you're not careful. So
why wouldn't you use that one on Weathermax?
Because what we're using Weathermax for with the reinforcement is usually you're putting reinforcement on it. You want a consistent spray, so this one,
Okay.
because this one is more
So-
stringy.
For everyone's knowledge, really quick, the U-line and this are only purchased when we can't get those two.
Yeah.
And right now we get whatever glue we can get because aerosol cans in general are hard to come by.
Yes. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so now I would like to talk a little bit about the technique that you use. And it's really important for both of these glues to use this technique. And we're doing it on the black Sunbrella because it'll show up and you can kind of see what's going on better. So what you need to do, shake your can like normal, right? And you need to have a smooth spray and kind of even lift up at the end, because if you don't, you're going to get a little pool of glue. That happens if you just spray it. And you need to be far enough away. So if you measure with your hand, it's further than your hand. Don't do it so close, right? it'll bleed through if you do that. So we need to be kind of far away. And so you want a spray that, here, I don't know, can you guys see that okay? Okay, so see I'm kind of pulling here. And so if you see the difference.
That little pull away.
Yeah, it makes a difference. So that's kind of the technique. So I want everyone to practice. So get out your cans of glue. And we have some people who know exactly what they're doing, and we can pass that around. And so just
So Matt, that
give
one
that
you
a
have
try.
those really webby. Yeah, we're not using that one right now.
Yeah, you can use the
That's different. That's different.
yeah, you can practice with the blue U-line, or you can practice with the white 3M45.
See this?
So like that?
Okay.
Oh, Justin.
Justin, no pooling glue, no pooling glue.
It's the opposite.
Yes,
Very
okay.
opposite of what you want.
Good. Yes,
I
good.
like this technique.
Yeah, it's a good technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I've got a lot of questions, but I'm going to wait till the presentation
No,
is
that's
over.
fine.
Well, this is a good time to ask questions.
While everybody's
We're
testing.
workshopping, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, I noticed that this glue is kind of all over the place,
Yes,
right? So
Where
if you're
the
trying to
Keystone
do,
is very more controlled.
yes.
Yes.
so if you're trying to do like a surf pocket or a
Yes.
reinforcement, you don't want it to go out where the reinforcement's not going to cover. How do you?
Yeah, so the part of it is your choice of glue.
Okay.
And so like, yeah, if you're
Almost,
if you
dies
need
off
it
a
more
little.
controlled and you need it to not like get everywhere, you can do really well with this if you are able to. And I've got samples that we can look at after. It probably won't show up very well in the video, but you can get really thick. It'll have a really good solid bond, but it will bleed through if you have a light fabric. And so like you can pick that. This one, another technique is you take this, you have your little piece, you take it to a trash can with a bag and spray your piece away from whatever you don't want it on, and then adhere it to your cover. That's an option there.
Are you bonding both sides?
Generally, we should bond both sides. Most of these, like in the instructions, say you need to bond both sides. If you're having a lot of trouble because you have a really light fabric and you have to be really careful, depending on your application, if it doesn't need to be a very consistent bond, you can get away with bonding one side sometimes.
Okay.
Sorry, that's not a really good answer. But the problem is, like, some of the glues, this one won't adhere very well if it's too light or if it's on one side. It just won't. So this one's
to be on both sides.
really difficult. Yeah. And so on the light fabric, you have to make sure that it's not clogged. You have to. This one's even further away. It needs to be like 2 feet away. To not like on the light fabric. You can get away with it if it's a darker fabric, but it has to be kind of far away. And then one other thing about this glue is when you're cleaning it out, you need to put it upside down in the trash and spray it upside down until it clears out. One you don't do that, you will regret it deeply. I did that and it was not good. So this one is really, really difficult, and if you're not comfortable, practice on a piece first.
With
Or if
tons
you're
of
not
scrap.
sure. We've got scraps. Yeah, and so this one is very tricky. And so yeah, now let's go to either this one or this one and just give it a go. Feel what it feels like. These you need to not put too close either, but they're not as finicky. So you can get closer. If you need it thicker, you can go closer. If you need it, a wider, you can go a little further away.
And
And
again,
so-
with the white can tip, clean it.
Yeah, and that's for both of these. This one will get gummed up too. Just the consequences are not as great for this one as they are for this one.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So give these a try and try it as well. Because it's just
What's your technique for it?
this one.
Really
You're
Shake it.
yeah. So for the keystone, you can vary your pressure on the tip.
We have to take
And control it a little bit.
Okay.
Just try this.
On this one, you can't really.
It's not as good.
I like that one because you can get it to spray to like a pinpoint and just have the right.
The Keystone one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this one,
The difference.
Yeah, that was really messy.
it'll go all over the place if you're.
See the difference?
And so spraying this one first is a good idea too. Like spray it in the trash can.
Give it a
or-
pre-spray.
Yeah, before you're ready to go. And so this one, it's just kind of an even coat, or you can even. But like again, it gets. Oh dear.
It flies.
Yo, look at this.
Yeah, all over the place. Yeah. So this one's tricky.
I don't know, but with spray, like you said,
Yeah, this
my
one I
dad
don't
always
know if that
told me
would
with
do
the
it.
spray you do upside down, but I don't know if that's true for us.
Using it upside down.
No,
No, to clean the.
Oh
when
yeah.
you're
On
done.
some
Yeah,
of them
that's
it
okay.
does say to spray it upside down, but with
Yeah, I
this
think-
webby glue you have to pick it off.
And get your fingers all gross. So these two, you can do that upside down and they'll work great. The other two, not so much. You kind of have to pull it off.
Your spray still looks more consistent than.
I have more practice.
Yeah.
It's a practice thing, right? Yeah, so that's kind of generally what it is. Do we have any questions so far?
This was helpful.
Why do we care about glue?
It's a great question. Anybody have any answers?
What are the consequences of being a bad gluer?
What does happen? Do they separate?
We make new covers.
So especially on these,
Yeah, the gray ones.
on the gray ones, on the light ones, we have to make a new cover. There's no solution. There's it's just stained and it won't come out. And so
Even if you spray.
even this. So on Sunbrella, you can get away with fixing it, taking off the glue with your silicone spray. And I was gonna have Crystal demonstrate because she is the master at this. So Crystal, if you would come to this spot
Nice.
real quick.
Do we want to move your thing?
Yeah, we can move it out of the way. So, and I have some samples of what it looks like when silicone gets on the gray. Yeah, that's perfect. So we've got some pre-dried glue just to compare, and then some new that she's gonna spray. And
I need a scrap piece of Sunbrella.
Here you
So
are.
I specifically like to use Sunbrella to scrub it off because this is like our toughest, most coarse to the feel, which really gets it up. I like to get the glue off as soon as possible because it will look better. It gets all of it off a lot better. Kind of just spray it on. Really? Give it elbow grease. And scrub it off. And how she was saying, with the black Sunbrella, it won't stain. So if you're having a really big spot, you can really pull it up and scrub it out.
And just for comparison,
Does that work with the Keystone glue too?
Yeah, with mostly all glues, the silicone I shouldn't say mostly all glues, the silicone will get it off. And that goes along with the Sharpie that we mark our fabric with, or the white pens. You can use this to get it off, and it works
good to know.
phenomenally.
You say it stains gray.
so it does stain the gray. If you get oil on it or you get silicone on it, it'll stain the gray. and it will stain.
Also water too.
The water dries.
Dry, but you have the.
I did a test and it's mostly good. It might depend on how long the water sits there. I don't know. And so if you put silicone on Weathermax, on the gray Weathermax, it will look, like this. On the black, you can't really tell unless it's in the right light.
And I did some testing with the silicone on the gray Weathermax as well to see if you could spray the silicone on another piece of fabric and scrub it off. It still stains it. So if you're using
Like the glue
gray,
itself stains it, and then the silicone off of the other one stains it too.
so yeah, that was me trying to scrub it
I'm
off.
impressed by your guys' like
Thoroughness.
in-depth. Like I love it because what does Justin freak out the most about here? Glue.
Glue.
No.
I just threw it right under the bus, didn't I?
No, I want to clarify. I freak out when we make the same mistake over and over again. That's what I freak out.
Yes.
Glue is
It's a
a
mistake.
shining example of
Yeah.
doing that, right? When we make a new mistake, we didn't know what we didn't know. But glue, we've made that mistake before.
We should know.
We should know.
This one will make a really big mess in a hurry if you want to practice.
Yeah, and so silicone with like the older dried glue, it can get it off, but
Sorta. Sometimes.
I'd say sometimes really depending how much elbow grease you want to give it, but it just doesn't look as
The key is
nice.
to do it when it's still wet.
Yeah, when it's still wet, it
I mean,
really.
that cleaned it off better than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
I
a
mean, it's not
professional.
like
Not perfect.
it's not like I guess wouldn't deliver to a customer that way. but
Yeah,
it cleaned
and
it better
you can really like get in there and get it off.
Now, is Sunbrella the best one to use, or do you use the same material that you're trying to clean?
Sunbrella is
Sunbrella,
great for the
okay.
scrubbing.
Because it is coarse and
It's the right texture to get it off.
scrubs it.
Okay.
Is it woven? Is that why?
Yeah, it's a woven product. It's
One-
more of an even weave than the Weathermax, where that's kind of an uneven weave.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but that's probably it. So one other thing that I forgot to mention, real quick, if you're done. Yeah, okay. Was that on Aqualon, sometimes it doesn't stick. So, especially the U line, like it doesn't stick very well. And that's Aqualon to Aqualon, and it is coated, so that is part of the problem. When you have the reinforcement, particularly the more fabric-y and the matte ones, it'll stick okay. But when you have to kind of let it dry enough, and that is one other thing too. Like this one is a fast tack glue. You guys know what tack is when we're talking about glue?
No.
I do not.
Okay, so tack means that it will stick quickly. So fast tack, it sticks quickly. On the on the 3M45, it will stick quickly if it's thin, but really it has to be dry, and so that's why thin sticks more quickly. Is because it's dry by that point.
So by that you mean you want to wait for it to dry before you...
No, you can stick it. I mean, I think the instructions say wait a little bit, but you can stick it, but you have to wait till it's dry completely to expect it to stick.
Okay.
And so we're sewing our reinforcements on, so it doesn't really matter like when. But if you have like a tricky corner that you're like flipping inside out, if you wait for a minute for it to dry, it'll go better when you're doing that.
Okay.
And so that's something else. And so both of these, you kind of have to wait a little bit if you want it to really stick. The other two are more fast tack. They stick more immediately. Yes?
Can you use, you can use the silicone for different color, like blue or?
Yes. So the darker it is, the more it won't show up. And so the lighter it is, the more it will show up. So I think I have, so like on this light Sunbrella, it'll stain it. And I have a sample
A
somewhere.
lot
in
of
my file.
shops actually charge more money to do lighter colors because things need to be cleaner for them to run it through their shop.
Yeah, and that, it's true. It takes more. You have to clean off the table, and you have to make sure there's nothing there. Or if you drip oil on it, then it's ruined. If you get glue on it, then it's ruined. So, like, outside your lines, you know.
Okay.
So, yeah, that, I think, is the general...
Can I ask a quick
gist.
question?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Aqualon to Aqualon is hard to bond.
Mm-hmm.
Should we then use different materials? Because a lot of the times if it's not super sharp, all use the same material so that we don't have to pull out another roll to cut. Would it
Right.
be easier for the sewing team if I used a different material in that case?
I think that it would work.
Or should we cut them the opposite and you glue the good side, the inside to inside, and just have the vinyl on the outside?
Yeah, because
think
the
that works
inside is
better.
not covered.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
me
see.
and Ivan won't, when we're doing that, we won't mirror it then. If that makes sense.
And like we can make it work. We can make it stick, but it'll take more glue. And none of the glue show up
But is
on
it 2
Aqua
seconds
Walk.
faster the other way?
It is 2 seconds
Okay.
faster, but is it 2 seconds faster for installing the boat? So this is more grippy when you're pulling it
I
on.
don't know that that would have an effect. I don't know. It might.
Good question. And or is it 2 seconds faster in the cat department? Mirroring it.
I think it would
Well,
be the
I
same.
personal, when I doing a storage cover, and I have my reinforcement on the same aqualon, just I put inside with inside, they coated outside, you know.
Mhm.
I noticed that you or Yesenia, they put the color or the coated pieces, stick it
The
to the
finished
cover.
side to the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably it's that problem that I use. I put the inside with the inside is good.
Yeah.
So
This bond is
knowing
is better.
that, maybe we ought to change how we're doing it so that it's always the way she because we're labeling everything. So then she has
Right.
to take the port side and put on the starboard,
Yeah.
Right.
where we can
I
make
do-
it correct.
yeah, I
we
see.
can make it correct for you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
So the overall worst glue for the dry fabric is probably the unlined.
Yeah, you have to kind of really practice.
Well, but
and
even in
everything.
black, if you use a lot of this or this, it's short for the other side.
Yeah, it shows
have
up
to
really
take
well.
care. You have to take care.
Oh yeah, you can see it come through.
And then it turns
Yes,
white.
yes.
It doesn't
Sure.
stay a nice.
Like when it dries.
Yeah,
Turn
when it dries.
Okay.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks.
Good presentation. We make that.